Thank you very much, sir. Namo Buddhaya. Karuna Sital Hadayam Paiya Pajyot Vihatmotamam Sarana Marlo Garu Bande Suktam Gati Vimuttam Anant Karuna Payam Tathagatam Manuttaram Bandami Sirsa Buddham Dhammam Sadhuganam Picha. Most respected Venerable Bhikkhu Mahasangha, the dignitaries of the IBC, President, Secretary General, and other Deputy Secretary Generals and all the officials of IBC, all most elderly persons, those who are sitting here on the wave of Buddha Jayanti, and my dear friends and ladies and gentlemen, it is really a deep sense of gratitude to pay my homage on the 25th 169th birth anniversary of Buddha Jayanti. First of all, I would like to pay my sense of gratitude to the Blessed One, the Buddha. We are talking about that how application of the teachings of the Buddha can be applicable in the solving the conflict resolutions. Before coming to the applications of the teachings of the Buddha, I would like to discuss about what are the causes of the conflict in the society and how this conflict has been resolved by the Blessed One Buddha in the suttas. The conflict term which has come in the Pali text in the sense of kalaha, vivada, vigga, there are so many terms which have come in the text for the term conflict. It is multifaceted terms which have been discussed in different manners. And the Blessed One Buddha has discussed and classified all these conflict in the four categories. First of all, it is called as akusal moola. And under the akusal moola, it is the hetus. There are lobha, dosa, moha, and the consciousness and the states which are associated with the three types of immoral hetus or the roots. They have been classified, and these are the source of the conflict in the society. The second, which has been classified under the Pali text, this is called as anusaya, that is the latent factors. These anusayas are the latent, dormant psychological states which remain on the surface of mind, and whenever they find time, they become activated. And they have been discussed in our Pali suttas in different manners. The third category which have been discussed in our Pali text, that is called asavas or the cankers. These asavas are the immoral states which are four in number: kamasav, bhavasav, ditthyasav and avijjasav. And these asavas are making intoxicated the human beings. And due to these asavas, a person does the immoral things in the society. And these are the source of our conflict in the society. And the fourth category, which has been classified by the Blessed One in the text, that is called as upadhan or clinging, or balvati tanha, that is the strong desires, and which have been discussed in our text, that kam upadhan, ditthi upadhan, attavad upadhan. So there are four categories which have been discussed, and these are also the source of our conflict in the society. So these four categories which have been discussed by the Blessed One in the Pali Suttas in the different manner and how they are creating our instinct. In the Brahmavihāra Sutta, the first sutta of the Digha Nikaya, which discusses about all the 62 types of michhaditti or the false views. And they are discussing that how the immoral states which are associated with the three types of immoral roots, namely loha, dosa, moha, and how they are creating problem or conflict in the society. And in the Brahmajala Sutta, we see that how the 62 types of false views or the michhaditti or mithya they have been interpreted in different manners. There are 2-3 categories which have been discussed. Again, in the Samaya Phala Sutta, these our immoral states, that is the akusala dhammas, they have been also discussed, and they have been said that panchasil, atasil or dasasil, these are the sikhapadas through which these immoral states, lobha, dosa, moha, can be eradicated. So in the different suttas we find about the akusala mil. In the Madhupindaka Sutta of the Majjhika Nikaya, we are having the 7 types of immoral psychological states, that is the anusayas. They are namely rag anusay, padig anusay, ditti anusay, abhijja anusay, bhav rag anusay. There are 7 types of anusayas which are creating problem. And there is a person named as Dandapani, and who approaches to the Blessed One, and he asks the questions that how the conflict can be and what are the sources of the conflict in the society. Then the Buddha says that these are the 7 types of immoral psychological states, anusayas, and they are creating problem in the society. Raga anusay, that which are latent immoral states related with the greed. And whenever they find time, they become activated and they create problem, conflict in the society. And this ditti, there are 62 types of michha ditti or the false views, and the views which are just opposite of the right views, that is the samma ditti, all are interpreted as the michha ditti. And these ditthis, the latent factors which are associated with the false views. And there were 10 types of abhyakata pahiyo, that sasato loko tiva, asato loko tiva, hoti tathagato param varnativa, tam jivam tam sariram, ayam jivam aya sariram. There were 10 types of immoral our states, or they were not answerable by the Blessed One. They were called as dasa abhyakata pahiyo, and these were also classified under the michhaditti. So latent factors related with the 10 types of abhyakata pahiyo, they were called as a ditti anusay. And avijja anusay is that type of latent factors which were associated with the ignorance, not knowing the Four Noble Truth, not knowing the law of dependent origination, not knowing the past existence, present existence, and the future existence. So these are and there was one man anusay. Man anusay, that sayo aham asmiti, I am the superior one, others are inferior, no one is equal than me. This type of thinking is called as a mana. And this man, the latent factors or immoral psychological states which are associated with that I am the superior one, I am the excellent one, no one is equal than me. This type of thinking is called as man anusay. And these 7 types of anusayas are creating conflict in the society. So Buddha was saying that until unless these 7 types of anusayas or the latent psychological states are not uprooted, there will be no resolution of the conflict in the society. And again we are having the asavas. The Buddha says about in the Sabbasava Sutta in the Majjhima Nikaya. Sabbasava Sutta is the second sutta of the Majjhima Nikaya, which discusses about the 4 types of asavas: kamasav, bhavasav, ditti asav, and avijja asav. And Buddha also talks that how these 4 types of asavas or the intoxicants can be uprooted. And there are 7 types of methods which have been given. First of all, it is called as dasanena pahatabba, that asavas can be uprooted by the dasana, that is the visualizing. Here the sakkai, ditti, vichikiccha, silvat, paramas. These 3 types of fetters or sayojanas are uprooted through the dasanena pahatabba. There are other types of other methods through which all can be, that is the vinodan pahatabba, sambara pahatabba, bhavana pahatabba. So through these, our intoxicants or the asavas can be uprooted. These and again related with the kam upadan, ditti upadan, attavad upadan. Buddha also talks in different texts. In Dhamma Sangani, there are interpretations about the upadan and how ditti upadan and attavad upadan, these can be uprooted. Again, we find in the text Athak Vagga of Sut Nipat, there is a Kalah Vibad Sutta in which Buddha talks about that how Kalah Vibad, that is the quarrels as well as disputes, can be uprooted among the society. And Buddha talks about all these things in a very detailed manner, Kalah Vibad Sutta. And here in the Kalah Vibad Sutta, Buddha says that there are 2 types of anusayas, namely ditti anusaya and man anusaya. These are the 2 types of latent factors which are the source of the Kalah and Vibad in the society. And Buddha talks that how this Kalah and Vibad can be uprooted. So here ditti and man, these are the 2 sources of the our disputes or the conflicts in the society. Again, there are other economic equalities or equity in the living standard. These are also the source of conflict in the society. And we find that how the Buddha talks that all people, human beings are equal. Chattaro banna samsama honti. And Buddha says that whosoever thinks that I am the superior one and others are inferior one, he is engrossed with the papiksha, that is the evil thoughts. And Buddha discards about it. And Buddha says that all human beings are equal. So these are the equities among the living beings as well as economic disparities among the societies are also sources of conflicts in the society. I am not going to discuss about the economic disparities as well as equity in the living standards. But how these others are affecting in our time. There is a sutta in Madhyam Nikaya which is called as Sakkappahiya Sutta. In the Sakkappahiya Sutta, the Blessed One answers that how a person who wants to live in the society with peace, but he feels himself that how peace can be undertaken in the family or the society. There are so many obstacles in the path of peace. Then the Buddha says that there are 2 things which are creating problems in the society. These are the irsya and matsarja, jealousy as well as miserliness. In Pali it is called as issa and machariya. Issa is jealousy after seeing the wealth and the well-being of others. So jealousy is the one of the main source of our conflict in the society or even disputes in the society. And miserliness, matsarja, is another type of immoral psychological state which thinks a person, which makes a person to think that other well-being or other wealth are affecting the wealth of oneself. And he is very much fearful and he does not want to give something to someone. In that sense, it is called as mata sarja or miserliness. So in Sakkappahiya Sutta, Buddha talks about in a very detailed manner that what are the sources of the our conflicts in the society. So these have been discussed in a very detailed manner, and these are the sources of our. There is another sutta in the Majjhima Nikaya, Samagama Sutta. And in the Samagama Sutta, Buddha says that there are 6 pairs of disparities or the conflicts in the society. And he says that, first of all, there is a Krodha and Upana, anger and the covetousness. And another things, Buddha talks about Makha and Palas. Third, he discusses about the Issa and Machariya. And then fourth, he discusses about Sat and Maya. And lastly, Papiksha and Michhaditti. This is the 5th one. And lastly, it is the Sandit, Paramaso and Adhan, Aghi, Dupati, Nisaggi. So these are the 3 things which are, there are 6 pairs which are the cause of disparity or making conflicts in the society. There is another sense which are making conflicts in the society, and this is called as pamad. That in the apamad bhag of the Dhammapada, Buddha says that apamado amatam padam, pamado machano padam. This pamad is leading towards our depth. So pamad relates with the arising of the conflict in the society. Okay, just within few minutes. So there are sources of the conflict in the society because due to hinsa, that is the pamad creates the hinsa in the society, and this creates disparities among the society. So how the application, now I am coming in a very brief manner, that how the applications of the teachings of the Buddha can be undertaken to uproot all these sources of the conflicts in the society. First of all, it is called as Satipatthana. Satipatthana Sutta is 3 times which have come in our Digha Nikaya, Majjhima Nikaya, and Buddha says that mindfulness is the only path through which Nibbana or a state of eternal bliss can be achieved. Buddha says that ekayano ayam baggo sattanam visuddhiya jadidam chattaro satipatthana kayanupassana vedananupassana chittanupassana and dhammanupassana. So Buddha talks about mindfulness just like a doorkeeper. A doorkeeper does not allow any undesirable person to enter into the house. In the same manner, this mindfulness does not allow any undesirable immoral states to arise on the surface of mind. So this Satipatthana makes aware of all the activities related with the body, feelings, mind, and all the teachings of the Buddha, that how these can be applied in our day-to-day life. And we have seen that how, what are the sources of the conflicts in the society. We have how Buddha talks about it. So mindfulness is the first that to apply in our day-to-day life, and how we can be very active in that way. And there are other 2 virtues, that is the hiri and ottappa. Hiri is attagar vena papam jahati, that it removes the oneself, that what the people will think about myself. This type of thinking is called as hiri. And what the people of the society will think about me, this is called as ottappa. So hiri and ottappa, these are the 2 virtues which are very much beneficial for applying in our day-to-day life, so that sources of the conflicts can be removed. Again, Buddha talks about the 4 Brahmavihāras. If you go through the 40 subjects of meditations, there are 4 types of Brahmavihāra. And if you see that 40 subjects of meditations, there are 10 Asubha, 10 Kasina, 10 Anusati, 4 Brahmavihāra, Chatudhatu Bhavatthānam, and Ahara Patikula Sanya. So these 40 subjects of meditations are also helpful in uprooting the sources of our conflicts in the society. Out of these 40 subjects, there are Maitri, Karuna, Mudita, and Upekha. These are very much important for uprooting all these in our society. Compassion, which has been discussed again and again, but karuna is not only a verbal sympathy after seeing the suffering of others, but how a person exerts himself, how a person makes efforts to uproot the suffering of others. This is called as karuna. Kam iti dukkham runati iti tam pavisati binasai bhayamati cha. How one makes an effort to uproot the suffering of others, this is called as karuna. And it is par dukkha haday kampanam, that seeing the suffering of others, when there is a quickness or the sickness of our heart or the consciousness, this is called as karuna. So how this karuna can be applied in our day-to-day life? Buddhist has discussed all these things in a very detailed manner. This can be applied to unlimited numbers of our people, because this karuna is one of the state of immeasurable. So all these have been discussed in a very detail. And again, there is another thing which has been discussed earlier also, that is the ahimsa. If you go through the second eightfold path, that is samma sankappo, there are three states in the samma sankappo, right determinations: nekham sankappo, abhyapad sankappo, and avihimsa sankappo. And second is called as avihimsa. Avihimsa is the name of the compassion here. And this compassion is nothing but bhavatu sab mangalam, that parhit kamata. This is called as, again, summarize within 2 minutes. So this, the concept of ahimsa, which has been discussed, and again, Acharya Nagarjuna also discusses about the law of interdependence, and out of the interdependence, he has discussed that there are 4 things which are applicable in our day-to-day life. That is the mutual dependence, mutual coexistence, co-enjoyment, and interdependence. There are 4 things. And paraspar asrayata, that is the mutual dependence, which has been focused by our Acharya Nagarjuna in the Madhyamakarika. This paraspar asrayata, that all living beings and not living beings, they are dependent on nature and environment. All things are subject to impermanence. So we have to cultivate all the teachings of the Buddha in our day-to-day life, and how these paraspar asrata, all things are interdependent. Man is dependent on the nature, nature is dependent on environment, all things are causally related with each other. So we have to think about unlimited compassions to all the living and unliving beings. So with these words, I am very much thankful to the organizing committee of the IBC for organizing this a small convention on this occasion, and giving me an opportunity to speak on this occasion. Thank you very much.